So the topic of file I/O encompasses much more than just working with text and binary files. It can also be used to work with directories and support functionality for creating directories, modifying directories, removing directories, and much more. This is more commonly referred to as file OS. Now, file I/O is kind of like an all-encompassing kind of an umbrella term for everything that we do in regards to working with files and directories and so on and so forth. But in reality, file I/O is working with files. Okay, file OS is working with directories and directory structures and paths and things of that nature. Okay? So this lecture here is going to basically scratch the surface by providing you with some basic concepts as it relates to directory management within Python. For more information on working with text and binary files and for working with directory management in Python, I would encourage you to follow the links that I've outlined here. The one that goes specifically to file I/O functionality and one that goes specifically to file OS functionality. So again, the topic of working with the operating system is pretty massive. There are more topics that we can possibly discuss here. Rather than make an attempt, though, we're going to outline some of the more commonly used features and outline examples for displaying, creating, renaming, and removing directories from your operating system. Before you begin, though, you're going to need to import the OS module as follows. The OS module includes all of the methods that we've outlined, or includes a lot of methods, including some of the methods that we're going to outline next. So let's go ahead and start off by importing that module. So we'll go ahead and here, we'll say import the OS module, and we don't want this capitalized. Let's go ahead and remove that. And then what we'll do is we'll go ahead and say import OS. Okay. All right. Here are the different directories, or excuse me, the different methods that you can use within OS. All of these methods allow you to display, create, rename, remove directories. You have chdir changes the current working directory to path, to the path that you specify here. Get current working directory returns a string representing the current working directory. Listdir returns a list with the names of the entries in the directory for the path. Makedir creates a directory at the specified path. MakeDirs recursively creates directories at the specified path. So if you need to create a bunch of directories, you can do that. Remove removes the file at the specified path. RemoveDirs removes directories recursively at the specified path. Rename renames the old file or directory to the new name. Renames recursively renames directories or files. And then rmdir, which removes the directory at the specified path. So remove removes the file, rmdir removes the actual directory. So let's take a look at some of these. Here's a good example of how you can get the current working directory. It's os.getcwd. So let's take a look. So we'll go ahead and say, get the current working directory. And then what we'll do is we'll go ahead and print os.getcwd. And we'll run it and see what we get. And you can see that there's my current working directory. C users, Zach, workspace, exercises. Right? So really, really easy to do. Okay. Now, how about getting all of the files and folders in the current working directory? Well, that's pretty easy. What we do is we set the current working directory to a variable called path, and then pass that into the list directory method, and then dump that into another variable called files. And then we just say for file in files, and then print file, right? So let's go ahead and take a look at that. Go ahead and, we'll say get all of the files and folders in the current working directory. All right, then we'll go ahead and say path equals basically what we did above, right? os.getCurrentWorkingDirectory. And what we'll do is we'll go ahead and set the files equal to os.listdir, and then the path is going to be the path that we're setting here, right? The other thing you could do to make things easier on yourself, I'm just splitting it out so you can understand this better, but you could also do this, right? So pass in the current working directory. This will return the current working directory. Pass that in directly into the method, right? But I think this will help you understand that a little bit better. We get the current working directory, dump that into a variable called path. We take that path, pass it in as an argument into the listdir method, and that will create a list of files. So now that we have a list of files, what we can do is we can iterate through that. So for file in files, and then we'll just basically print file. And if I run this, you'll see that These are all of the files that I have in my current working directory, right? So basically everything that is here is showing here, right? Kind of cool. All right, so all right, that's just kind of again, scratching the surface. There's a lot more to this, right? So let's take a look at some more. So making a directory, you can programmatically make a directory at the current working path. So in this case, what we're basically copying what we did previously. The difference here is that we're adding the mkdir method and then passing in the path, and then appending the \zack to it, so it creates that path for us. So I'm going to go ahead and copy this, and I'm going to go ahead and say make a directory at the current working path, and basically we'll just go ahead and comment that. Basically everything else is the same. The only difference is we're going to add here os.makedir path plus, and then we'll add \zack to that. And then we retrieve everything, and then we display it out. So we run it, and there's the Zack folder, and you're like wondering, like, well, how come it's not here? Well, if we refresh, there's the new folder that we just created programmatically, right? So it's kind of cool. All right, and let's go ahead and move forward with this. You get an idea. So we created the directory. Now, how do we change to that current working directory? Well, we can use the chdir method to do that. So let's try that. Change the current working directory. And so again, we're always going to be using the path, right? It's almost better to create like a constant for that, right? Path equals current working directory, and then we'll say os.changedir. We'll pass in path plus the directory that we want to change to. So Zack, and then we'll go ahead and say print os.get current working directory, because the current working directory is going to be different now than it was when we executed the code up here. So we run it, and you can see that now that's our current working directory, okay? Because we've switched to it programmatically, okay? So now if we were to like run code, like if we were to use file.io and create a new bin file, since this is our current working directory, that's where it would create the bin file. Okay, so that's important to understand that. Okay. Alrighty, renaming a directory. Okay, so in this case, notice what we're doing is we're calling the rename method of the OS module, and we're passing the path Zack, and we're going to rename it to Zack Ruvalcaba. So this is the old, this is the new. Okay, so we can go ahead and just copy pretty much this up here, right? And we'll say rename a directory. Let's go ahead and uncomment that. Rename a directory. And we get the path, and then we're going to do, rather than make directory, we're going to go ahead and os.rename, actually rmdir, and then we get the path plus Zack, and then we're going to rename it to Zack Ruvalcaba. And then we're going to go ahead and list the directories out. Let's go ahead and see what we get. Oh, we got an error here. Function takes at most one positional argument to given. So we have, we had remove. That's a remove directory. We want rename. Sorry, my mistake. There we go. There we go. So now it renamed it to Zack Ruvalcaba. If I refresh over here, you can see that Zack was renamed to Zack Ruvalcaba. Okay. And then finally, if we wanted to remove that directory, what we could do is we could go ahead and say remove directory. And same thing, what we'll do is we'll copy the code from above, uncomment, and what we'll do is we'll change out this rename to rmdir, and then path Zack Ruvalcaba. There we go. That's why I was complaining before, is because we're passing in 2 parameters when it only accepts 1. Okay. Save, and then we'll run it, and there we go, it's gone. If I refresh here, you can see that the folder is now gone. So this should give you a taste of working with directory management. There's quite a bit. I mean, you could lock folders, you can change them to read-only, There's so much that you can do with directory and folder management. This is merely scratching the surface of what you can do. But I think it gives you a really good example of what's possible in terms of working with files, working with comma delimited files, working with binary files, and working with some basic directory management skills.